So right now, how do you feel? Do you feel powerful? Good. Do you feel powerless? Or maybe it's somewhere in between. How does your power play out in your daily life? Have you ever thought about that? I believe no person is absolutely powerful, nor absolutely powerless. Power and powerlessness are mixed in every human situation, in every action. The problem is sometimes people don't know what they have power over and what they don't. People don't realize how often they give their power away. It's like that prayer, the serenity prayer you may be familiar with. Give me strength to change what I can change, and courage to accept what I cannot change. Being powerless can simply mean recognizing that no one can do everything or control everyone. We all have limits. There are just things that we just can't do, and people or situations that influence us. And that's totally normal. It's not a flaw or weakness. It actually makes sense when you think about it. We are all affected by different things every day, and we're constantly navigating what we can and can't control. That's just part of being human, balancing our power and powerlessness as we go. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the artist Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh struggled physically and mentally, which probably made him feel powerless. He created many drawings and paintings. He painted in his own style, making something of his own. When he did that, he was exhibiting power. So you can experience both power and powerlessness at the same time. And as a side note, I'm just gonna say, many years ago, I was at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and I saw the original Starry Night. And I gotta say, if you get a chance to see it, you gotta see it. It's gorgeous. When you see pictures of it online, it's one-dimensional. But the way he painted, his brush strokes were so thick, they were like little waves. And when I saw it, there was no plexiglass or glass over it. And I gotta say, it really touched me. I was mesmerized by this. So if you ever get a chance, please go see it in person. So getting back to being powerful, you can have power in one area because you're good at something, like painting maybe, but still lack power in another area if you're missing a certain skill. The same goes for resources. You might have access to one thing, but not another. Like you could have knowledge or connections, but not much money. And that changes how much power you really have. As spiritualists, we believe that everyone has the ability to communicate with spirit. We also know that it's up to the individual to develop that ability, if they want to. Everyone has the power to be a medium. The kinds of power people have can shift over time, which is why it's kind of misleading to label someone as simply powerful or powerless. That kind of thinking misses the messy reality of how power actually works. If we zoom in on specific relationships or moments in our lives, it becomes a lot easier to see who had the power and who didn't in that situation. But when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture in that situation, things get a bit more complicated. Power and powerlessness aren't so clear-cut. They blend together in all sorts of ways. And both of these views are real and valid. So yes, some people definitely have more power than others, but it's also true that power isn't absolute and can be really mixed depending on the context. Realizing this can change the way we think about things like responsibility, accountability, and blame, because it's not always as straightforward as it seems. I really feel it's about understanding what we can't and can control. Also what others can and can't control. As we know in our relationships, there's so many misunderstandings that take place that lead us to suffering and hurt feelings. We are trying to control what we can't, and we don't try to change what we can, because we expect the others to change. And you know they won't, even if we try to get them to change. Spiritualism cannot make you believe in life after death or in communication with spirits. You believe what you want to believe, and that is your power. That is why I love spiritualism. It's because each of us gets to decide what we want to believe. Spiritualism is not a dogmatic religion. Seeing someone as just powerful or powerless, no matter the situation, kind of misses the point. It oversimplifies things and ignores how complicated power really is. Power always comes with some level of powerlessness. No one has total power. That would mean being able to do everything without any limits and influencing everyone without even being influenced yourself. And that's just not how real life works. When I was 14, my mom died unexpectedly. That moment changed everything for me. I had to grow up quickly. I had to figure out how to move forward and how to process it all. It was a lot. Too much really for my 14-year-old brain to handle. And at that age, as you probably know, your brain isn't even fully developed yet. And I took it really hard. But somehow, in the middle of all that pain, I had to find my strength. I had to dig deep and hold on to whatever power I could find within myself. Maybe this was something I was meant to go through. part of my path, I guess. When I think back at that time, it feels as though I really wasn't in control of anything. I just did what my family told me to do. Everyone around me was grieving, and no one was really talking about their feelings. I really didn't have anyone to turn to. I had to face the fact that so much of what was happening was completely out of my hands. I did feel powerless. It was like life was happening in slow motion all around me. I was there, but not really there. The funeral home, the funeral itself, it's all kind of a blur now. But even in that blur, I know I had strength. I must have. I made it through. Sometimes it was just an hour at a time, then a day at a time. I missed my mom terribly, and still do. I could not even imagine what a life would be like without her. But I knew I had to keep moving. My world had flipped upside down, but I had to keep going. At that time, I felt so many things like grief, fear, anger, and confusion. But through it all, I somehow found this inner power that I didn't even know I had. And that is what helped me keep moving forward in my life. Our power always comes hand in hand with a kind of powerlessness. We can never fully predict the consequences of our actions or fully understand why we do what we do. It's not just about making a choice and owning it. It's more complicated than that. When people abuse their power, it usually comes from a mix of feeling powerful and powerless at the same time. That kind of abuse is often an attempt to take back control. It usually starts from a feeling of losing control. In fact, many great displays of power are actually rooted in powerlessness. Think about those ancient kings building numerous palaces or tombs. They were using their power over people, yes. But those structures were also attempts to prove that they had power. Why have the need to prove it? Unless they were afraid that their people would think less of them. Even the most brutal dictators in history committed horrific acts because they were terrified of losing their grip on power. Underneath all that cruelty was fear. Fear of slipping into total powerlessness. This fear, this feeling of powerlessness can be dangerous. It can turn into anxiety and cause harm, not just to us, but to others, because we live in a web of relationships where we are never fully in control. We can be powerful in one context and powerless in another, all at the same time. Even our physical bodies show us this duality. When we walk, we use our muscles. If we don't walk, our muscles weaken. Every day that we use our muscles is not necessarily showing power, but it's maintenance. But when we move with effort, intention, and purpose, that same motion becomes a kind of strength. It turns into power. So in a way, we have to choose to feel powerful by putting in the effort. And so with that said, I'd like to give you 4 paths to reclaim ourselves, our power, and our happiness. Number 1 is speak our truth and own it. Speak up and stand up for what's important to us. Be honest with ourselves and others about who we are, what we want, and how we feel. Being vulnerable can be scary. But here is what I'd like us to remember. Anyone or anything that we lose by being ourselves, our true authentic selves, is really not for us. Authenticity is empowering. When we speak our truth, we align with that truth. We will experience a better connection in our relationships, better quality friendships, and more overall satisfaction in our personal and professional life. Number 2, if we're going to talk the talk, then we must walk the walk. Speaking our truth includes setting standards and having boundaries. Be okay with walking away or letting go. When something or someone is not in agreement with who we are and what we truly desire. This applies whether it's in a relationship, friendship, or a career that is no longer fulfilling. So as long as we align with our truth, whatever we leave behind will be replaced with something better. So number 3, we are not for everyone, and that's okay. There's so much power in saying this line. As soon as we stop wanting everyone to approve, validate, appreciate, like, or love us, we will thrive. We will no longer needlessly second-guess ourselves. We will freely tap into our true gifts and passions. We will feel lighter, and we will feel joy in who we are and whatever we create or do. And the cherry on top of the sundae for us is that we will naturally attract or gravitate towards people who truly appreciate us and what we have to offer. And the last one, number 4, is embrace your uniqueness. We were created with a unique set of quirks, gifts, and our own energy signature. There was always a higher plan for us when we were born. We are inherently valuable. We have a place and an important purpose, which is to be ourselves. The world needs us, our authentic self. When we show up as our real, authentic selves, That's when we find peace. We feel free, and we stay in our own power because we're not pretending. It's just us being us. And that's all we need to do.